Welcome to my free e-course, The 7 Foundations to Living Your Legacy. My name is Tim Seeley, and I will be your guide through each module to help you live a more fulfilled life as you live out your legacy today. We are just about halfway through, where I want to say congratulations on progressing through the program thus far. I trust you have received some valuable insights and are gaining clarity about how you can live your legacy today. Let's recap the modules so far. In the first module, we discussed what character is and how it is lived out with integrity. The second module looked at the principle of being connected. In the third module, we discussed the development of competence over the long haul. In the last module, we examined the foundational principle of courage, which involves mental and moral strength. In this next module, we are going to discuss the foundational principle of consistency, both what it is and why it's important. If you haven't done so already, please take a moment and download the workbook. It will help you think through each of the principles and guide you through the exercises for each module. Use it as a tool to help you process the material, synthesize your thoughts, and establish your desired course of action. Every year, there is a car show at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds featuring classic cars. Classic cars are a passion of mine, and I dream of one day rebuilding one for myself. The show also features cars that have been significantly modified, which certainly have their appeal, but the real aficionados tend to migrate to the cars that are as close to the original as possible. One car that has stood the test of time and is a great example of consistency is the Model T. According to Encyclopedia Britannica's History of the Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford built his first experimental car in a workshop behind his home in Detroit in 1896. After formation of the Ford Motor Company, the first Ford car was assembled at the Mack Avenue plant in July 1903. 5 years later, in 1908, the highly successful Model T was introduced. Demand for this car was so great that Ford developed new mass production methods in order to manufacture it in sufficient quantities. The use of the assembly line to produce cars meant each car that was produced would be formed in the same way as a previous car. This consistency in assembly would produce a consistent product, with a consistent performance as well. Each person who worked on the assembly line had a very specific role and responsibility. The organization of the assembly line required that the parts be installed in a certain sequential order. The manufacturing of the vehicle on the assembly line in this specific order, with each step carried out properly, allowed each vehicle to start and run as it was intended. As a result, the Model T was highly successful. The consistency in build and performance established Ford Motor Company's reputation as a reliable manufacturer for years and years. What is consistency then? Dictionary.com states that consistency is the steadfast adherence to the same principles, course, form, etc. On the assembly line, each person had a role and responsibility. By performing the same repetitive task in the same way each time, the car would be manufactured the same, and it would function the same as the one that was built before and after it. While life is not an assembly line, there are many areas of life where consistency is important. We've hit on it already, but why do we need to be consistent? In his article titled Power of Consistency, 5 Rules, the author Eric Holtzclaw provides some insights into why he believes consistency is important. Quote, "You can't establish a track record if you are constantly shifting gears or trying new tactics. Many efforts fail before they get to the finish line, but not because the tactic was flawed or goals weren't clear. The problem is often that the team simply didn't stay the course to achieve the objective." Unquote. In other words, they did not follow through and finish the task. They didn't maintain consistent focus and effort. Too often, we get distracted and lose interest when we grow tired or lose sight of the big picture. But if consistency takes time and effort, how can you cultivate it in the face of so many distractions in life? As I have been working on living my legacy, there are 3 ideas that have been helpful to me. The first is to keep in mind the big picture of what you desire your legacy to be. Michael Hyatt and Daniel Harkavy have a great book titled Living Forward, which provides some great insights around this idea. One idea they provide is to consider the trajectory of your life in light of what people would say at your funeral. A less morbid way to think about this is to consider what people will say at your 80th birthday party. Life is a gift and should be lived to its fullest. So why are you doing what you do? What are things that you can imagine looking back on as a waste of time? Get that picture in your mind, because life is short and what you do every day should reflect that. A second idea that will help you cultivate consistency is setting out daily goals. Many people have stated that in order to move forward faster and more effectively, it's helpful to figure out what your 3 biggest tasks or projects are that are the most important and are tied to your long-term goals. With that big 3 focus on the first one and work on that until you have completed. Certain tasks or projects are not pleasant or easy, but stick with it and complete it. This will build momentum and stamina for the next task. Success brings more success, which over time will show up in your consistency. The last idea, which for some may be the hardest of all, but will help you avoid burnout and give you time to rejuvenate yourself, is to shut down and leave work at work. We all need time to rest and refresh ourselves. If you are consistently bombarded with social media and thoughts about work, that's counterproductive. It is a myth that the longer you work, the more you get done. Take time to disconnect and enjoy life. There's much more involved than this, but one thing you can take from the example of the Model T is that you will need a system in order to build consistency. As with all the principles, cultivating consistency is hard and will take sustained effort. Reflect on what is working for you and what's not. Then commit to make the necessary adjustments to improve. Your legacy depends on it. Now it's your turn. Take some time and go through the exercises on the worksheet. Block out about 10 to 20 minutes and answer the questions. Reflection is an important part of living out your legacy. This could be the most profitable and beneficial time of your life. After you have completed the exercise, you may go on to the next module. There, we will be examining the next foundational principle of clout or influence. Please leave a comment or question below. I would love to hear your feedback on the challenges of living your character and how you plan to apply this foundational principle to live your legacy today.